The massive alien ship appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system on a Tuesday morning. It was the size of a small moon, covered in dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols glowed along its surface in patterns that hurt to look at directly. The ship had traveled across the galaxy for one purpose: to deliver humanity's final ultimatum. Inside the ship's command center, Ambassador Zixthera stood 12 feet tall. Her body was made of living crystal that changed colors with her emotions. Right now, those crystals pulsed with the deep purple of authority and the gold of inevitable victory. She had done this same task on 47 different worlds. Each time, the primitive species had surrendered within hours of seeing her ship. Zixthera touched a control panel with one of her 6 arms. The communication system came alive, broadcasting on every frequency that the backward humans used. Her voice carried the weight of 50,000 years of galactic civilization. "Primitive beings of the third planet," she began. Her words automatically translated into every Earth language. "I am Ambassador Zixthera of the Galactic Council. Your species has been observed and judged. You have 72 of your planetary rotations to surrender completely to galactic law." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "You will dismantle all military forces. You will submit to administrative restructuring. Your governments will be dissolved. Your resources will be managed by proper galactic authorities. Compliance is not optional. This is your only warning." The message traveled at light speed toward the small blue planet. Zixthera settled back to wait for the terrified response that always came. Usually, the primitive species would flood all channels with panicked communications. Their leaders would argue among themselves. Their military forces would scramble uselessly. Within hours, they would beg for mercy. But something unexpected happened. The first response came from Houston, Texas. The signal was weak and carried the background noise of what sounded like construction equipment. A human male voice spoke, slightly slurred as if he had been drinking. Yeah, hi there, Sparkles." The voice paused. There was a sound that Zixthera's translation system identified as laughter. "Good luck with that whole surrender thing. Really. I mean it." Zixthera's crystals flashed bright red with confusion. She replayed the message 3 times. The tone was all wrong. Where was the fear? Where was the desperate pleading? More responses began flooding in from all over Earth. A teenage girl from Tokyo giggled before saying, "Oh wow, another alien invasion? It's only Tuesday. Mom's going to be so annoyed if this interferes with dinner." An elderly man from Ohio spoke, slowly, as if explaining something obvious to a child. "Son, I've been through 3 wars, 5 economic crashes, and 40 years of marriage. You're going to have to do better than flying around in a big fancy spaceship to impress me." A woman who identified herself only as Dave from accounting said, "Look, Crystal Person, I've got quarterly reports due on Friday. Can we maybe schedule your whole galactic conquest thing for next week? I'll check my calendar." Zixthera's emotional crystals cycled through colors so quickly they looked like a disco ball. In her 50 centuries of life, she had never encountered anything like this. These humans were treating the most powerful military force in the galaxy like a minor inconvenience. She opened a priority channel to the Galactic Council's headquarters, 7,000 light-years away. The delay meant it would take hours to get a response, but she needed guidance. While she waited, more human responses kept coming. They ranged from polite disinterest to outright amusement. A group of humans in something called Australia sent back what appeared to be a video of themselves having a barbecue. One of them raised a bottle of beer toward the camera and said, "Cheers, mate. Thanks for stopping by." The most disturbing response came from the humans' global information network, which they called the Internet. Within 3 hours of her ultimatum, humans had created what they called memes about the situation. They were sharing images of her ship with captions like, "When you threaten Earth but forgot to check if anyone cares," and "Alien invasion on a Tuesday. That's a Wednesday problem." Zixthera tried to understand what she was seeing. On every other world, her ultimatum had been the most important event in that species' history. On Earth, it wasn't even trending on their social media platforms. The most popular topic was apparently something called cat videos. She studied the human responses more carefully. There was no fear in their voices, no panic in their body language. They weren't scrambling to organize defenses or holding emergency meetings. Most of them seemed to be going about their normal, daily activities. This was impossible. Her ship carried enough firepower to crack continents. The Council's fleets could sterilize planets. How could these primitives be so calm? Zixathera decided to monitor Earth's military communications, expecting to find frantic preparations hidden from the civilian population. What she found instead made her question her translation software. "General Morrison, sir, we're getting reports of that alien ship everyone's talking about," said a young human soldier. "The big crystal thing? Yeah, I saw the news. Any indication they're actually going to do anything threatening?" "No, sir. They're just sitting there." "Well, keep an eye on them. Let me know if they start acting like an actual threat instead of a really expensive tourist." Zixthara's crystals went completely clear with shock. These humans weren't even treating her as a military threat. They were discussing her arrival like it was mildly interesting weather. The response from Council headquarters finally arrived. The message was predictable. Increase pressure, demand immediate compliance, remind the primitives of their hopeless situation. Standard protocol that had worked on every world for millennia. But as Zixthara prepared to send another ultimatum, something caught her attention. Earth's communication networks were buzzing with activity, but not the kind she expected. Humans were sharing scientific papers about her ship's design. They were discussing the implications of faster-than-light travel, with the casual interest of people talking about a new car model. One group of human scientists had already published a paper titled Gravitational Analysis of Unknown Vessel, Preliminary Findings on Non-Human Engineering Methods. They seemed more excited about the learning opportunity than concerned about the invasion. Another group was taking bets on what her species looked like. The leading theory, based on analysis of her ship's design, was probably crystalline, definitely overcompensating for something. Zixathera realized she was experiencing something entirely new: doubt. In all her centuries of service to the Council, she had never encountered a species that reacted to superior force with such complete indifference. She tried one more approach. Opening all communication channels, she broadcast directly to Earth's leaders. "Human governments, you have 60 hours remaining. Your planet faces complete destruction if you do not comply. This is not a negotiation." The response came from the office of the President of the United States. It was polite, professional, and utterly maddening. "Dear Ambassador Zixthara, thank you for your recent communication regarding Galactic administration. We appreciate your interest in Earth's affairs. However, we must respectfully decline your offer at this time. If you would like to discuss trade agreements or cultural exchange programs, please contact our State Department during normal business hours. Best regards, Jennifer Martinez, Assistant Secretary for Extraterrestrial Affairs." Zixathera stared at the message. They had an Assistant Secretary for Extraterrestrial Affairs. They had normal business hours for galactic contact. They were treating her ultimatum like a business proposal. As she sat in her command chair watching Earth continue its normal rotation, Zixathera began to suspect that she might be in serious trouble. Either these humans were too primitive to understand their situation, or they knew something she didn't. Given their casual confidence in the face of overwhelming force, she was beginning to fear it might be the latter. Zixathera decided that direct observation was necessary. If the humans were hiding their true capabilities, her reconnaissance probes would find them. She launched a dozen of the Council's most advanced scouting units, each one invisible to primitive sensors and capable of analyzing entire planets in hours. The probes swept through Earth's solar system like silent ghosts. They scanned every satellite, every space station, every piece of orbital debris. What they found was exactly what it appeared to be: a barely space-capable civilization with technology that looked primitive by galactic standards. But the energy readings were wrong, completely wrong. Earth pulsed with power signatures that didn't match any known technology. The planet's electromagnetic field was subtly modified in ways that suggested massive engineering projects, but there were no visible megastructures. The humans' global communication network carried more information per second than most star systems generated in a year, yet they seemed to use it primarily for sharing pictures of small furry animals. Probe 7 descended toward what appeared to be an ordinary human city. The scanner readings immediately went insane. The city wasn't just consuming energy, it was generating it in ways that violated several fundamental laws of physics. Every building seemed to be connected to some kind of power grid that existed partially outside normal spacetime. The probe's AI tried to analyze a building marked as Municipal Water Treatment Plant Number 7. The structure appeared to contain a localized, gravitational anomaly that was being used to power water pumps. The AI ran the calculations 3 times before accepting that humans were apparently using controlled black holes for municipal engineering. Another probe investigated what humans called the Large Hadron Collider. The facility was supposedly designed to study tiny particles, but the energy readings suggested it was capable of tearing holes in reality. The humans seemed to turn it on and off like a light switch, using it to answer what their communications described as, basically, just curiosity about how stuff works. Probe 12 attempted to scan a human research facility in Antarctica. The moment its sensors touched the building's perimeter, something impossible happened. The probe encountered a space-time distortion that folded reality into shapes that had no names. For 0.003 seconds, the probe existed in 17 dimensions simultaneously before the effect released it. The probe's emergency transmission was barely coherent. Warning: humans have contained what appears to be a universe-creating event within a standard research facility. Purpose unknown. Recommend immediate strategic withdrawal. Zixthera studied the reports with growing unease. Each probe had discovered something that challenged everything the Council knew about physics, engineering, and the natural order of technological development. Yet the humans treated these impossible achievements as routine maintenance. The most disturbing discovery came from the probe monitoring human communications. The species had something called the Internet, which appeared to be a primitive data-sharing network. But analysis revealed it was actually a sophisticated collective intelligence system that allowed billions of human minds to work together in real time. And those minds were terrifying. Humans spent their leisure time creating detailed simulations of galactic conquest. They had thousands of games that modeled space warfare, planetary management, and stellar engineering. Their entertainment industry casually depicted technologies that the Council's greatest scientists considered theoretical impossibilities. More troubling, humans seemed to understand the Council's own technology better than the Council did. Discussion forums were filled with detailed analysis of the hegemony's pride's design flaws. One human had posted a complete technical breakdown of the ship's propulsion system, including several suggestions for improvements. "The gravitational field configuration is really inefficient," wrote a user called Deep Space Engineer 47. "They're wasting like 60% of their energy output on unnecessary dimensional stress. Also, why is their hull so thick? Are they trying to stop asteroids or just show off?" Another user replied, "Classic authoritarian design philosophy, all appearance, no function. Bet they can't even do a proper hyperspace fold without 3 hours of prep time." Zixthera checked her ship's specifications. The hyperspace preparation time was exactly 2 hours and 57 minutes. How could they possibly know that? The probe monitoring Earth's academic institutions sent back reports that made Zixthera's crystals flash with alarm. Human universities were teaching courses on theoretical xenopolitics and interstellar conflict resolution. Students were writing papers on optimal strategies for managing primitive galactic civilizations. One paper, titled "Why Most Spacefaring Species Fail: A Study in Administrative Overreach," contained a detailed analysis of the Council's governing structure. The conclusion was devastating. The Galactic Council represents a classic example of bureaucratic expansion leading to strategic incompetence. Their reliance on threats rather than incentives suggests a fundamental misunderstanding of how advanced civilizations actually operate. The paper had received top marks from the professor and was being shared widely across human academic networks. But the most unsettling discovery came when Probe 3 attempted to analyze human manufacturing capabilities. The probe detected massive, industrial operations that didn't appear to exist, factories that built themselves, production lines that existed in folded space, assembly systems that operated outside the normal flow of time. The probe's final report was almost incoherent. Humans appear to have solved the resource scarcity problem by simply opting out of scarcity-based economics. They manufacture matter at the quantum level. Their industrial capacity is theoretically unlimited. Recommend immediate Council evacuation of this sector. Zixthera sat in her command chair, surrounded by reports that painted an impossible picture. According to her sensors, Earth was inhabited by primitives who had barely figured out space travel. According to the same sensors, those primitives had casually solved engineering problems that had stumped galactic civilization for millennia. She opened a direct channel to Earth's surface, hoping to speak with someone who could explain what was happening. "Hello," said a cheerful human voice. "You've reached Earth's Extraterrestrial Relations Department. Your call is important to us. If you're calling about invasion plans, press 1. For trade negotiations, press 2. For tourism information, press 3. For technical support, press 4. Zixathera pressed 1. Thank you for calling about invasion plans. Please hold while we connect you to a specialist. Your estimated wait time is 3 minutes." Soft music began playing. It was actually quite pleasant. When someone finally answered, it was a young human woman who sounded like she was drinking coffee. "Hi there, this is Sarah from Invasion Response. I see you're calling from the big crystal ship. How can I help you today? This is Ambassador Zixathera of the Galactic Council. I have delivered your species' final ultimatum. You have 57 hours to surrender." I see that in our system. Yeah, we got your message. Super dramatic, by the way. Really nice. Use of the whole inevitable doom theme. Very classic. Zixathera's crystals flickered with confusion. "Do you understand what I'm telling you? Your planet faces complete destruction." "Oh, absolutely. Really appreciate the heads up. Thing is, we're going to have to pass on the whole surrender option. It's just not really our style, you know?" "You are refusing the Council's demand?" "Well, refusing sounds so negative. We're just politely declining. Like when someone invites you to their boring party, but you already have plans to wash your hair." Zixathera felt something she had never experienced before: complete bewilderment. "Human female, your species possesses no significant military technology. Your ships cannot leave your own solar system. How do you expect to resist the Council's forces?" Sarah's laugh was warm and genuine. "Oh, honey, is that what you think? That's adorable. Hold on 1 second." There was a brief pause. Zixathera could hear typing and what sounded like a microwave beeping. "Okay, I'm back. Sorry, lunch was ready. So here's the thing about our military technology. We don't really do the whole giant scary spaceship approach. It's a bit too obvious. Like, why would you want everyone to see you coming?" "What are you implying?" "Nothing. Just that there might be more to the situation than meets the eye. Anyway, I've forwarded your contact information to our diplomatic team. They'll probably want to set up a meeting sometime next week. Thanks for calling." The communication ended. Zixathera stared at her console in disbelief. The human had hung up on her, on the representative of the most powerful military force in the galaxy. She tried calling back. The same cheerful music played, followed by a new voice. "Earth Extraterrestrial Relations. This is Mike." "Oh, hey, you're the crystal person from the big ship, right? Sarah mentioned you might call back. What can I do for you?" "I demand to speak with your military leaders immediately." "Sure thing. Let me transfer you to the Pentagon. Just a heads up, though. General Morrison is in a really good mood today. His daughter just got accepted to college." The line transferred. A gruff human voice answered. "Morrison here. You must be our galactic visitor. How's the view from up there?" "General Morrison, I have threatened your planet with complete annihilation. Why are you not mobilizing your defenses?" General Morrison C. The Council's emergency session was held in the great crystal chambers of their capital world. Representatives from 300 species gathered in holographic form, their various shapes and sizes creating a bizarre assembly of galactic power. Zixathera stood at the center, her crystals dim with uncertainty. "The humans refuse to surrender," she reported to the assembled leaders. "They show no fear of our capabilities." Counselor Vextar, a massive reptilian being whose species had conquered half their galaxy sector, slammed a clawed fist against his podium. "Impossible. No primitive species has ever refused Council authority. You must have made an error in communication. I assure you the communication was clear. The humans understand our demands. They simply don't care." The chamber erupted in confused chatter. Representatives spoke in dozens of languages, but the message was the same. This had never happened before. High Chancellor Mordak, eldest of the council members, raised one of his tentacles for silence. His ancient voice carried the weight of millennia. If the humans will not surrender to authority, they must be taught to fear superior force, demonstrate our power, destroy something they value, but leave them alive to reconsider. The decision was unanimous. The Council would use their stellar fracture cannon to split Earth's moon in half. It would be a precise demonstration, terrifying but not extinction level. Every species that had ever witnessed such power had immediately begged for mercy. Zixathera returned to her ship and began charging the weapon. The stellar fracture cannon drew power from the ship's core, building energy that could crack continents. The targeting systems locked onto Earth's moon, calculating the perfect strike to split it cleanly without sending dangerous debris toward the planet. On Earth, Sarah Chen was having a normal day at the Lunar Research Station's control center in Nevada. She was reviewing data from the automated systems on the moon's surface when her computer chimed with an unusual alert. "Huh," she said to her colleague, Dr. James Park, who was eating a sandwich at the next desk. "Looks like someone's pointing a really big energy weapon at the moon." James looked up from his lunch. "The crystal ship people? Yeah. Pretty impressive power buildup, actually. Want to see?" Sarah turned her screen so James could see the readings. The energy signature was massive, definitely weapon grade, and aimed directly at the lunar surface. "Should we do something about that?" James asked, taking another bite of his sandwich. "Probably. The automated defenses should handle it, but let me check the settings." Sarah pulled up another screen showing the lunar defense grid status. "Oh good, it's online. Been waiting for a field test anyway." She typed a few commands, adjusting parameters with the casual efficiency of someone updating a smartphone app. There, should absorb and redirect anything they throw at it. Might even give us some useful data on their technology. James nodded and returned to his sandwich. "Cool. Want to grab lunch after this? I heard the new Thai place downtown is pretty good." Across space, Zixathera watched her targeting display with satisfaction. The weapon was fully charged, the calculations were perfect, and the humans would finally understand their situation. She gave the order to fire. The stellar fracture cannon unleashed the fury of a dying star. The beam raced across space, carrying enough energy to shatter moons and crack planets. It was the Council's ultimate demonstration of power, a weapon that had brought entire civilizations to their knees. The beam struck the moon's surface and vanished. Not reflected. Not absorbed. It simply ceased to exist, as if the energy had been politely asked to go somewhere else. On her console, Zixathera watched the impossible readings. The beam's energy signature had completely disappeared the moment it touched the lunar surface. Her sensors showed no damage, no impact crater. No sign that the most powerful weapon in the galaxy had just been fired. The moon continued its peaceful orbit around Earth, unchanged and undamaged. "Sarah," James said, looking at his computer screen. "The defense grid just logged an energy absorption event, pretty big one." Sarah glanced at her displays. "Yeah, I see it. Converted about 97% to usable power, routed the rest to deep space. Not bad for a first test. The lunar facilities should have enough stored energy to run for about 6 months now." "Nice. Free power from alien weapons. I love it when a plan comes together." On the Hegemony's Pride, Zixathera's command crew stood in stunned silence. Her weapons officer, a 6-armed insectoid named Klexazak, checked his systems 3 times before speaking. "Ambassador, all weapon systems show successful firing sequence. Energy delivery was nominal, but target shows 0 damage. How is that possible?" "Unknown. The energy was not reflected or deflected, it simply disappeared upon contact with the target surface." Zixathera opened a priority communication channel to Earth. This time she was connected immediately to a different, human voice. "Earth Defense Coordination, this is Colonel Williams. I understand you just took a shot at our moon. Everything okay up there?" Your defenses. How did you stop our weapon?" Colonel Williams paused. "Oh, the fracture cannon? Yeah, we've been tracking that charge cycle for the last 3 hours. Pretty standard stellar disruptor technology, right? We set up some countermeasures a while back, just in case someone tried to use our solar system for target practice." "Countermeasures? But our intelligence indicated you possess no such technology." "Well, your intelligence might need updating. No offense, but you guys aren't exactly subtle." We've been watching Council operations for decades. Nice ships, by the way. Very traditional. Zixthera's crystals flashed rapid patterns of confusion and fear. You've been watching us? Oh, sure. Hard to miss, really. You tend to announce yourselves pretty loudly when you conquer systems. Makes it easy to study your methods. That's impossible. Our stealth technology is beyond your comprehension. Colonel Williams laughed. Is it though? Look, Ambassador, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but your stealth technology is basically just fancy radar jammers. We figured out how to see through that stuff back in the 2040s. Zixthera felt something she had never experienced in her centuries of life. Genuine fear. Not fear of death or defeat, but fear of the unknown. These humans were speaking casually about technologies that shouldn't exist, discussing Council operations they couldn't possibly know about. Human, what are you not telling me? Lots of things, probably. But hey, I'm not the diplomatic specialist. Want me to transfer you to someone who can better explain our situation? Before Zixthera could respond, her ship's proximity alarms began screaming. She spun toward her tactical display and saw something that made her crystals go completely transparent with shock. Dozens of objects were approaching her ship. They weren't on any sensors 60 seconds ago, but now they were clearly visible. Small, sleek vessels that moved with impossible grace, approaching from angles that violated basic physics. Ambassador, Colonel Williams's voice came through the communication system. Those are just our diplomatic escorts. Standard procedure when we have galactic visitors. Nothing to worry about. The approaching ships were unlike anything in the Council's databases. They moved without visible propulsion, turned in ways that ignored momentum, and seemed to exist slightly outside normal space-time. Each one radiated more power than a Council battleship. Diplomatic escorts? Zixthera managed to whisper. Sure, wouldn't want anything to happen to you while you're visiting our solar system. Earth takes hospitality seriously. The escorts will make sure you have a safe and pleasant stay. As the impossible human ships took positions around the hegemony's pride, Zixthera realized that everything the Council believed about primitive species was wrong. The humans weren't primitive at all. They were something else entirely, and they had been watching the Council with the patient amusement of adults observing children playing with toys. Panic spread through the Galactic Council like a virus. Within hours of Zixthera's report, emergency fleets were mobilizing across dozens of systems. The humans' casual dismissal of the stellar fracture cannon had shattered 50,000 years of military doctrine. High Chancellor Mordak convened the Council's most secret organization, the Strategic Intelligence Division. Their mission was simple but terrifying. Find out everything the Council didn't know about humanity and find out fast. The SID's cyber warfare units were the most advanced in the galaxy. They had cracked the communication systems of every known civilization. Breaking into humanity's primitive networks should have been trivial. It wasn't. The moment the first intrusion probe touched Earth's internet, it triggered responses that shouldn't have been possible. Human defensive systems didn't just block the attack. They followed it back through hyperspace, analyzed the attacking technology, and then sent a polite message to the Council's headquarters. Hi there. We noticed you trying to access our networks. That's totally fine. Curiosity is natural. But maybe next time just ask? We're pretty friendly and we love sharing information with civilizations that are ready for it. Have a great day. Earth IT Department. The message included detailed technical specifications for the Council's own intrusion technology, along with several suggestions for improvements. But the humans weren't done. Within minutes, Council communication networks across the galaxy began experiencing what their technicians described as aggressive helpfulness. Human systems were offering software updates, virus scans, and performance optimizations to every Council computer they could reach. Your encryption is really outdated, one message read. We've upgraded your security protocols free of charge. You're welcome. The Council's most secure military networks suddenly found themselves running on human-designed software that was apparently immune to every cyber weapon in the galactic arsenal. Worse, the software was actually better than what they'd been using before. Admiral Klexnar, head of the Strategic Intelligence Division, stared at his screens in growing horror. Not only had the humans effortlessly defeated the galaxy's best cyber warriors, they had somehow improved Council technology in the process. How is this possible? He demanded of his technical staff. Chief Analyst Kieksmora's 6 eyes blinked in rapid sequence, a sign of extreme stress in her species. Admiral, the humans don't appear to use traditional computing methods. Their networks seem to exist partially outside normal space-time. They're processing information faster than should be physically possible. What do you mean? Sir, they appear to have solved the computational complexity problem by simply ignoring it. Their networks process unlimited amounts of data simultaneously by existing in multiple quantum states at once. Admiral Klexnar felt his 3 hearts skip beats. Are you telling me these primitives have quantum computers? No, sir. Quantum computers are what we use. The humans have something else entirely. Something that treats our most advanced technology. Like counting on fingers. The Admiral's communication console chimed. Another message from Earth had arrived. Hey, Admiral Klexnar. We noticed you trying to hack our systems. That's so cute. We've attached some documentation about network security that might help you guys catch up. Also, we really like your ship designs. Very retro. Jenny, age 16, Seoul. The message included complete technical manuals for technologies that wouldn't be invented for another 1,000 years, written in the casual tone of a teenager sharing homework notes. While the Council's Cyber Warfare Division suffered their humiliating defeat, other intelligence units were making equally disturbing discoveries. Deep space surveillance posts reported impossible readings from Earth's solar system. The humans have been modifying their local space, reported Station Commander Thrextal. Gravitational fields have been adjusted. Stellar radiation is being redirected. They appear to have been terraforming their entire solar system. Terraforming with what technology? Admiral Klexnar demanded. Unknown, sir. We can observe the effects, but not the methods. It's like watching someone paint a picture, but never seeing the brush. More reports flooded in. Human ships had been spotted in distant systems, but they appeared and disappeared without using any known form of faster-than-light travel. When Council vessels investigated these sightings, they found detailed surveys of galactic civilization that were frighteningly accurate. They know everything about us, whispered Intelligence Officer Nixvala. Ship movements, political structures, technological capabilities, even our classified research projects. They have better intelligence on Council operations than we do. The final piece of the puzzle came from the most shocking source of all, the Council's own historical archives. Deep in the classified files buried under layers of bureaucratic secrecy, an ancient intelligence analyst found a reference that changed everything. Admiral, the analyst's voice shook as he delivered his report. I found something in the old files. Earth has been under observation for over 200 years. Yes, we know that. Standard procedure for primitive worlds. No, sir, you don't. Understand. Earth has been under observation by someone else. For the past 50 years, our surveillance teams have been filing reports about mysterious technical failures, missing data, and equipment malfunctions near the human system. We assumed it was natural interference. Admiral Klexnar's blood ran cold. Are you telling me someone else has been watching the humans? No, sir. I'm telling you the humans have been watching us. Every malfunction, every missing file, every piece of lost data. It all corresponds to human space activity. They've been studying us while we thought we were studying them. The Admiral accessed the files himself. The pattern was undeniable. For decades, Council surveillance operations near Earth had suffered subtle failures. Data would disappear, sensors would malfunction, and teams would report strange readings that were always dismissed as equipment problems. But viewed together, the incidents formed a clear picture. The humans had been systematically intercepting Council intelligence operations, learning everything they could about galactic civilization while carefully remaining invisible. They've been playing us for decades, the Admiral whispered. A new message arrived from Earth, this one addressed personally to High Chancellor Mordak. It was signed by something called the Earth Diplomatic Corps. Honored Chancellor Mordak, we understand there may be some confusion about the current situation. We'd like to invite a small Council delegation to Earth for informal discussions. Nothing fancy, just coffee and conversation. We think there might be some mutual misunderstandings that could be cleared up pretty easily. We've taken the liberty of preparing some background materials that might be helpful. Looking forward to hearing from you. Ambassador Chen, Earth, Diplomatic Corps. The attached background materials were a complete analysis of Council governmental structure, military capabilities, and strategic weaknesses. The report was more detailed and accurate than anything in the Council's own intelligence files, but what made Admiral Klexnar's blood freeze was the date on the report. It had been written 15 years ago. The humans had been quietly analyzing the Galactic Council for over a decade. They knew exactly who they were dealing with, and they had been preparing for this moment long before the Council decided to contact them. High Chancellor Mordak read the report in his private chambers, his ancient mind struggling to process what he was seeing. The humans had identified every major flaw in Council operations, predicted their expansion strategy, and apparently developed countermeasures for every weapon in the galactic arsenal. More terrifying, they had done it all while maintaining the appearance of a primitive, spacefaring civilization. How long have they been watching us? He wondered aloud. His personal aide, a timid creature called Pixlack, brought him another message that had just arrived from Earth. Actually, about 73 years. The message read, "We started paying attention when you annexed the Veltorian system. Really aggressive move, by the way. We decided we should probably keep an eye on you folks just in case you headed our direction. Hope you don't mind. Dr. Martinez, Earth Historical Analysis Department." Mordak stared at the message. 73 years. The humans had been studying them since before most current Council members had been born. Another communication arrived, this one from Earth's Xenological Research Institute. "Hi, Chancellor. We've been reviewing your species expansion patterns, and we're a bit concerned about your resource management strategies. You're going to run into some serious sustainability issues in about 50 years if you keep up the current consumption rates. We've attached some suggestions that might help. Also, your FTL technology is super inefficient. We could probably help with that too. Dr. Sarah Kim, Sustainable Galactic Development." The attachment contained detailed economic models that accurately predicted every resource crisis the Council was secretly struggling with. It also included technical specifications for FTL improvements that would increase efficiency by 300%. Mordak summoned his chief economic advisor. "Are these human projections accurate?" The advisor's voice was barely a whisper. "More than accurate, Chancellor. They've identified problems we haven't even recognized yet, and their solutions." The Council's emergency response was swift and overwhelming. Every available warship from 300 civilizations converged on Earth's solar system. The Armada was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Over 10,000 vessels representing the combined might of half the galaxy. Admiral Klexnar commanded the fleet from the Super Dreadnought Council's Wrath, a ship so massive it had its own gravitational field. As they dropped out of hyperspace, he expected to see a terrified human civilization cowering behind whatever defenses they could muster. Instead, he found a welcome sign. It was enormous, easily visible from space, spelled out in lights, across an entire continent. "Welcome to Earth galactic visitors," it read with a smaller message below. "Please proceed to designated coordinates for check-in. Complimentary refreshments available." "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "we're receiving a guidance signal directing us to specific positions throughout the solar system. Ignore it. Take standard invasion formation." "Sir, we're trying, but our navigation systems are being assisted. The ships are being moved into the positions indicated by the guidance signal." Klexnar watched in horror as his massive fleet was gently but irresistibly maneuvered into neat, organized parking spaces throughout the solar system. Ships that tried to resist found their engines politely overridden by systems that shouldn't have been able to interface with Council technology. "This is impossible," he muttered. "How are they controlling our ships?" His communication officer looked up from her station. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Earth's surface." The screen filled with the image of a human woman sitting at what appeared to be an ordinary desk. She wore a simple uniform with a name tag that read, "Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth Tourism Board." "Hello there," Dr. Chen said with a bright smile. "Welcome to the Sol system. We're so excited to have you visit. I see you brought quite a large group. That's wonderful. We love hosting big events." Admiral Klexnar found his voice. "Human, you are facing the combined military might of the Galactic Council. Surrender immediately or face annihilation." Dr. Chen's expression shifted to one of polite confusion. "Oh my, I think there might be some misunderstanding. You're not here for the invasion thing, are you? Because we already sorted that out with your council leadership. What do you mean, sorted out? Well, we filed the proper paperwork with the Universal Arbitration Network. Your council's management contract for this galactic sector was terminated due to performance issues. We've assumed administrative responsibility for the region. The Admiral's mandibles clicked rapidly with stress. What is the Universal Arbitration Network? Dr. Chen blinked in surprise. Oh wow, you guys really are out of the loop, aren't you? The UAN has been managing galactic governance disputes for about 12,000 years. They're the ones who originally gave your council administrative authority over this sector. She tapped her tablet a few times. Yeah, here we go. Your performance review from last cycle was pretty rough. Excessive use of force, poor resource management, declining satisfaction, ratings from subject species. The UAN has been looking for a replacement administrator for about 50 years now. This is impossible, Admiral Klexnar said. The council reports to no higher authority. Yeah, that's part of the problem. See, when you're granted administrative authority over a galactic sector, you're supposed to actually administer it, help civilizations develop, mediate disputes, maintain trade routes, that sort of thing. But you guys kind of turned it into a conquest and exploitation operation. Dr. Chen's tone remained cheerfully professional, like a teacher explaining a simple concept to a confused student. The UAN was getting complaints. Lots of complaints. And when they offered your council performance improvement assistance, you guys ignored them. So they started looking for someone else to take over. Admiral Klexnar felt reality shifting around him. Someone else? Us. Humanity submitted a bid for galactic administration about 20 years ago. We had to go through a pretty extensive evaluation process, but we finally got approved last month. The paperwork just went through on Friday. Dr. Chen smiled warmly. Which brings us to why you're all here. According to Universal Administrative Code Section 47B, outgoing management is required to participate in a peaceful transition of authority. That's what this is. A transfer of responsibility ceremony. The Admiral's communication system chimed with an incoming message from Council headquarters. High Chancellor. Mordak's ancient face appeared on screen and he looked like he had aged several centuries in the past few hours. Admiral. Mordak's voice was barely a whisper. Stand down immediately. Do not take any hostile action. Chancellor, what are your orders? The humans were telling the truth. The Universal Arbitration Network exists. They've been managing galactic affairs since before our civilization achieved spaceflight, and they've terminated our administrative contract. Mordak held up a crystal tablet. I've just received formal notification. The humans have been granted full administrative authority over our sector. We are now classified as a transitional client species under their management. Dr. Chen nodded sympathetically. It's always hard when administrations change. But don't worry. We've got a really good transition plan. Most of your species will probably find the new system much more comfortable. She gestured to something off-screen. We've prepared orientation packets for all your crews. They include information about the new administrative structure, benefits packages, and retraining opportunities. Retraining? Admiral Klexnar asked, weakly. Well, your current skill set is pretty limited to conquest and intimidation. We're thinking more along the lines of peaceful development, conflict resolution, maybe some infrastructure management. Much more fulfilling work, really. Across the solar system, council ships found themselves receiving detailed packets of information. The documents outlined a complete restructuring of galactic civilization based on cooperation rather than domination, economic models that eliminated scarcity, conflict resolution systems that made wars obsolete, technology sharing programs that would advance every species by centuries. This is madness, Admiral Klexnar protested. You cannot simply take over galactic civilization. Dr. Chen looked puzzled. Take over? Oh no, we're not taking over anything. We're just fixing the management problems. The UAN has been very clear about their expectations for the new administration. She pulled up another screen. See, the thing is, galactic civilization has been struggling for a while now. Resource conflicts, territorial disputes, technological stagnation. The previous management approach wasn't really working out. Our civilization has lasted 50,000 years. Oh, absolutely. And that's impressive longevity. But longevity isn't the same as success. Your species' happiness indices have been declining for millennia. Economic inequality is at historic highs. Most member civilizations report feeling unsatisfied with current galactic leadership. Dr. Chen's expression was genuinely sympathetic. Look, we're not saying the Council did a bad job on purpose. Administrative work is really hard, especially at galactic scale. But humanity has some experience with complex systems management, and we think we can make some improvements. Admiral Klexnar felt the weight of inevitability settling on his shoulders. What happens to us now? Well, that depends on what you want to do. We've got lots of opportunities available. Some of your people might enjoy working on terraforming projects. Others might like our new interstellar communication network. We're always looking for beings with translation skills. She paused thoughtfully. Actually, your species would be perfect for our new Galactic Cultural Preservation Initiative. You have extensive knowledge of historic civilizations that we'd love to help document and maintain. And if we refuse? Dr. Chen looked genuinely confused by the question. Refuse what? To participate in galactic civilization? Why would you want to do that? She gestured toward the view of space outside her window, where council ships sat in their assigned positions like students in a classroom. Look, we know change is scary, but we're not here to punish anyone or destroy anything. We're here to make things better. For everyone, including you guys. Dr. Chen stood up from her desk and walked to the window. The galaxy is an amazing place, full of incredible beings with fantastic capabilities. But for the past 50,000 years, most of that potential has been wasted on conquest and control. She turned back to the camera. We think it's time to try something different, something that lets every species contribute their best instead of just following orders. Admiral Klexnar found himself asking a question he never thought he'd voice. What if you're wrong? What if this new system fails? Dr. Chen shrugged. Then we'll try something else. That's what humans do. We experiment, we adapt, we keep trying new approaches until we find something that works better. She smiled. But between you and me, Admiral, we're pretty confident about this one. We've been planning it for a long time. As if summoned by her words, more human ships began appearing throughout the solar system. Not the small escorts from before, but massive vessels that dwarfed even the Council's super dreadnoughts. They moved with impossible grace, their hulls shimmering with technologies that seemed to bend reality around them. Transition support teams,